they will be destroyed in case they escape and cause new epidemics. So if there are viruses in the insects and they escape, they might cause an epidemic. An epidemic is when hundreds of thousands of people are infected and you cannot control the disease. They talk about the Ebola epidemic or the Black Death epidemic in the medieval times. But regardless from that, we are talking about they have to be destroyed, killed. So the microbes that seem to have the characteristics will have to be killed. The characteristics of what? Deadly, safe, deadly diseases, maybe. Unsuccessful, but they have to kill prehistoric diseases, maybe. Lifetime, excited, modern diseases. Okay. Let's take another look. If the antibiotics, if any ancient microbes are revived that resemble present-day diseases, they will be destroyed. Present-day diseases. Okay, ancient microbes, but present-day diseases. So, modern diseases here. Next, it is thought that a single molecule could lead to a whole series of drugs. So a single molecule. I remember that from reading. And it's here. Let's see. Here is the single. So you said the fight against my... no. They do seem to be real. An expert. They appear to be veritable. They do seem to be real. Even the discovery ranging contaminated. It's bad. So they hope that one ancient antibiotic molecule could be used as a basis to synthesize a range of drugs. So many drugs. So, again, other scientists who have tried to produce antibiotics in a similar way have been unsuccessful, or maybe they were not here. There have been several attempts, Egyptian mummies to do, but many were subsequently shown to be contaminated. So they failed. So unsuccessful or something like that. Here we are, unsuccessful. Good. Next, the work is considered a scientific achievement, significant achievement, something like that. Let's see. So significant is a possible word. Let's get back and see. Edward, an expert, they appear to be variable, seem to be real. I was finding a breakthrough by scientists. A breakthrough is when they change a lot. Is that when this achievement or this discovery flips the world over. It's like Einstein's theory of relativity that helped us discover nuclear energy, something like that. So here we take a look at significance. Next, it is necessary to be something about maintaining the life of antibiotics, to be wise, to be careful. Here, it's so that the only way to keep the life of that antibiotic going is to use it sensibly and not excessively. Let's see. To be successful, particular, place, serious, maybe. All right, careful, contributing. So careful about maintaining the life, or serious about maintaining the life of the antibiotics. I would say one of. I won't say one of them. This is a bad answer. Let's see. Serious? Are you serious about maintaining the life, or are you careful about? I would say careful is better. All right, to be careful about maintaining the life of these antibiotics. Next, let's understand another argument. There will be lots of reading today, so I hope you are ready. Now, just a moment. All right, a new argument has been, actually let's read the here, the text, the answers first. Alright? Then we will read the text. Alright. First, let's have a general understanding. Why do you think this article was written? We are trying to find out the intent, the purpose of the writer for writing this article. No one writes an article if they do not have anything to write about, or if they do not want to put a point through. Alright? Of course, I know that you will be forced to write something in the exam, but I really hope you understand that when you have a purpose in writing, you try to find reason to write. This will help you in writing in the writing test. But let's just postpone this this discussion until later. Why do you think this article was written? What do you notice about the views presented in it? What do you notice about the views? What overall message is presented? And what would be a suitable subheading for the article? Subheading. Alright? So let's first see why this article was written. Alright? Of course, a question like this will not appear in the IELTS test, to be honest. Right? But it helps to understand. Next, let's see. Penguins show signs of stress. That's the heading. Now we need a small subheading under that. A new argument has been put forward as to whether penguins are disturbed by the presence of tourists in Antarctica. Previous research by scientists from Kiel University in Germany, I think it's Kiel University in Germany, monitored Adelie penguins and noted that the bird's heart rate increased dramatically at the sight of a human as far as 30 meters away. But new research using an artificial egg, which is equipped to measure heart rates, disputes this. Scientists from the Scott Polar Research Institute at Cambridge say that a slow-moving human who does not approach the nest too closely is not perceived as a threat by the penguins. Is not perceived as a threat. So we are talking about the topic sentence is, there is a research from a German university that says yes, there is a threat, or you should not approach penguins. But another university, Scott Polar in Cambridge, say no, this is not right. So we have the Kiel University and the Scott Polar Universities. The earlier findings have been used to partly explain the 20% drop in populations of certain types of penguins near tourist sites. So now they are doing this research to try they are conducting this research to try and find the reason for population drops of penguins near the tourist sites and how to try and stop them. So 20% drop in populations of certain types of penguins near tourist sites. However, tour operators have continued to insist that their activities do not adversely affect wildlife in Antarctica. I didn't even think that Antarctica was actually a tourist attraction. So it's very nice to read about this. Now, saying they encourage non-disruptive behavior in tourists. Disruptive here is when you disturb something, is when you, shall we say, something happening here, and then you disturb, and then you try to interfere. Okay? What's that called? And the decline, and the decline in penguin numbers is caused by other factors: global warming and climate change. Amanda Nimson of the Scott Polar Research Institute, underline that, not like that, but here. Amanda Nimon of the Scott Polar Research Institute spent 3 Southern Hemisphere summers at Cuberville Cuberville Island in Antarctica, studying penguin behavior towards humans. So 3 summers. A nesting penguin would react very differently to a person rapidly and closely approaching the nest, says Niemann. First, they exhibit large and prolonged heart rate changes, and then they often flee the nest, leaving it open for predators to fly in. I'm sorry, the text here is a bit unclear. I'm just going to write it here. To fly in and remove eggs or chicks. Alright? To fly in and remove eggs or chicks. So penguins are scared from humans, then they run away and leave their nest wide open for predators. A predator is something, an animal that eats the penguin's eggs. So let's take a look here. The earlier findings partly explain the 20%. So 20% or drop in penguin population. Here, the theory that the penguins are, why the penguins are scared and why their population is reduced here. The artificial, here I'm reading from this part, the artificial egg specially developed for the project monitored both the parent who had been disturbed when the egg was placed in the nest and the other parent as they both took it in turns to guard the nest. Again, the artificial egg, especially developed for the project, monitored both the parent who had been disturbed when the egg was placed in the nest and the other parent as they both took it in turns to guard the nest. So we have 2 birds, right? One was guarding the nest and the other was, I think, hunting or something. Alright, so they placed the nest and disturbed this parent. Okay, the other parent was not disturbed, so when the shift changed, okay, we have 2 parents. Anyway, however, Boris Kulik, another name, Boris Kulik, who monitored the Adelie penguins, believes that Niemann's findings do not invalidate his own research. So that's the person from the Keil University. By the way, Eastern Germany usually has lots of Russian names like Boris. Next, he points out that species behave differently, and Niemann's work was with Gentoo penguins. Niemann and her colleagues believe that it's Kulik, or here's Kulik, it's not Kult. Kulik's research was methodologically flawed because the monitoring of penguins' responses entailed capturing and restraining the birds and fitting them with heart rate transmitters. So monitoring the birds is not, of course, when you monitor the birds, you have to try and put the transmitters without them being disturbed, actually, in the first place. They caught the birds, put the heart rate monitors, and then return them to the environment, which means they are already disturbed. So, well, methodologically flawed because the monitoring of penguins' responses entailed capturing, restraining the birds, fitting them with heart rate transmitters. Therefore, argues Niemann, it would not be surprising if they became stressed on seeing a human subsequently. So, we have 2 points of view here, all right, and we are discussing both points of view. Now, is the writer siding with one of them? I don't know. No, he's not siding with any of them. He did not mention his own opinion. He just said the 2 opinions without mentioning his own. So let's take a look here at the questions. Why do you think this article was written? Maybe to draw attention to the penguins in the southern pole, or maybe even to draw attention to the research being done, okay, so that people understand what the people of Britain and Germany are doing. So here, What do you notice about the views presented in it? They are all objective views. All right? Sometimes, yes, they are all objective views. These, as opposed to subjective views. So an objective view is a view that, or is an opinion that is based on scientific research and analysis. So when you say, for example, that someone else's car is not bad, is not good because it broke down or it breaks down every 50 kilometers or 100 kilometers, okay, you are being objective. But when you say it's bad because you think it's bad, there's nothing wrong in it, okay, but it's your opinion, okay, you just gave your opinion without explaining why or without giving a reason that can convince someone. That's a subjective view. So, of course, the points of view presented in the article are mostly objective because every one of them is supported by evidence. Right? He said that she conducted the research on a different breed than his, and she said that he restrained the animals so that he could put the heart rate monitors, and that means he's already disturbed. What overall message is presented? I would say something about tourism. Try to avoid approaching penguins. Well, if you go to the South Pole, of course. What would be a suitable subheading for the article? A new argument has been put forward as to whether the penguins are disturbed by the presence of tourists in Antarctica. Okay, maybe penguins are not affected. All right. So let's take a look here at the next set of questions, and these are the more important ones that can actually go into the text, that can be a part of the test. As usual, questions 5 to 7 means that you have the blanks 5, 6, and 7. All right, these are the blanks you will have in the test. Make sure to write a letter in each of them, but of course, order doesn't matter. All right, order doesn't matter. So, penguins are not afraid of people who behave calmly. Now we're talking about which of the following arguments are stated in the text. It doesn't have to be agreed upon or not. So, are penguins not afraid of people who behave calmly? Just a moment. Here we are. Here, they were talking about the tourists. So, continue to insist that their activities do not adversely affect wildlife, saying they encourage non-disruptive behavior in tourists and that the decline in penguin is caused by other factors. All right? So maybe this, but we are not sure. Penguins need better protection from tourists. Not all penguins behave in the same way. Yes, this was said by Boris. So I'm just going to mark it somehow. Circle. Not all penguins behave in the same way. Tourists are not responsible for the fall in penguin numbers. That's what the tour guide says. Penguins are harder to research when they have young. I would say that when they are young. Okay? I think when they are young. This one was never mentioned. Alright? Tour operators should encourage tourists to avoid Antarctica. This was also not mentioned. So our answer is C, D, and either that or that. So let's see which one is correct. Penguins are not afraid of people who behave calmly, and penguins need better protection from tourists. The only time where tourists were mentioned are here The earlier findings have been used to partly explain the 20% new research. However, tour operators have continued to insist. So which one is right? It's a bit difficult here. Let's see the tourists. They encourage non-disruptive, they decline these causal factors, saying they encourage non-disruptive behavior in tourists. Now, they are saying that they encourage non-disruptive behavior, right? But they're not implying that, or they're not saying their opinion that penguins are calm around penguins, or penguins are not disrupted by people who are calm. Maybe. What about the next one? What about the other one? I'm just going back here and forth. I'm very sorry for that. Better protection from tourists. I would not say that people want to say monitored, increased by the sight of humans, but the research using an art. Now they didn't mention anything about better protection from tourists here. Amanda Neiman is against this. Boris, these Neiman's therefore argues. Now, of course, they have not said that they are affected by, they need better protection. They're just saying that they're affected. All right? So, in fact, the answer is actually A. All right? So this is how you go about solving the questions. You try to read the questions and understand the answer. Of course, here, the ideas are not very much in order. Afraid of people who behave calmly came a bit after in, or not all penguins behave in the same way, was after the tourists. All right, so let's continue. Do apes ape? Do you even ape, bro? Do apes ape? This is a very funny expression, but I would say that these funny expressions usually precede very difficult text. So be careful. You may laugh, but be ready. So let's take a look at the next, or at the questions here. Okay. Which three of the following arguments are stated in the passage? The same thing. So let's read the arguments and see if they're being said, or if they have been said. Here, scientists are in agreement on the copying behavior of apes. So do scientists agree that apes copy? So agreement on the copying. Here. Young chimpanzees work out how to open nuts by experimenting. So do young chimpanzees experiment? Experiment here means to try different methods and see which one succeeds. All right? Next. Chimpanzee behavior is best understood by observing them in their natural habitats. Of course, we're not saying whether something is right or not. We're saying whether something is mentioned in the passage. All of this actually is an introduction to another part that I really believe is very important for you to understand. Maybe this is the most difficult question of all of the IELTS reading test. But let's just carry on. Chimpanzee behavior is best understood by observing them in the natural habitats. What about the next one? Children are better imitators than chimpanzees. Here. So in the natural habitat here, children are better imitators than chimpanzees. So comparison between children and chimpanzees. Chimpanzees in zoos try out fewer actions than those in the wild. In zoos, okay, and comparison to the wild. Zoos, fewer actions, wild. Of course, let's take a look here that it's very likely that C and E are somehow related. Activities such as ant dipping are more rare among chimpanzees these days. So, ant dipping, what's that? Chimpanzees' observation of parent behavior is vital to their development. Parent behavior. Alright? So, we have more or less an understanding of what the text is about. Let's quickly skim through the text and skim through the text and see if we can answer some of the questions in the front. Anyway, the notion that the great apes, chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans again, and gibbons can imitate one another might seem unsurprising to anyone who has watched these animals playing at the zoo. So here we are, zoo. But in scientific circles, the question of whether apes really do ape has become controversial. Controversial means no one is agreeing. Okay? Everyone has his own opinion and everyone believes everyone else is wrong. So, controversy among scientists. Controversy among scientists. Consider a young chimpanzee watching his mother crack open a cocoa nut. It has been observed in the Thai forests of West Africa. In most cases, the youth will eventually take up the practice himself. Was this because he imitated his mother? Skeptics think perhaps not. So, they're asking a question. Do monkeys imitate their mothers? Some people say no. They argue that the mother's attention to the nuts were encouraged the youngster to focus on them as well. Once his attention has been drawn to the food, the young chimpanzee learned how to open the nut by trial and error, not by imitating his mother. How chimps is short for chimpanzees, learn. And that's it. How chimps learn. Next. Such a distinction has important implications for any discussion of chimpanzee cultures. Some scientists define a cultural trait as one that is passed down not by genetic inheritance, but instead when the younger generation copies adult behavior. If cracking open a cocoa nut is something that chimpanzees can simply figure out how to do on their own once they hold a hammerstone, it can be considered part of their culture. So is it genetic or cultural? Furthermore, if these animals learn exclusively by trial and error, these chimpanzees must, in a sense, reinvent the wheel every time or each time they tackle a new skill. No cumulative culture can develop. So are skills cultural or genetic? Maybe. Alright? Are skills cultural or genetic? And implications of skill origin. Anyway. The clearest way to establish how chimpanzees learn is through laboratory experiments. Okay? Laboratory experiments. One of us, Witten, in collaboration with Deborah M. Custance of Goldsmiths College, University of London, constructed artificial fruits to serve as analogues of those the animals must deal with in the wild. In a typical experiment, a group of... Okay, they're explaining the experiment. Next. I'm just choosing a color here that can match the, or that can contrast the text here. So experiment here, they're just conducting an experiment. That's even worse. So let's just get back to the experiment explanation here. All right. Again, in a different kind of experiment, one of us, Bush, along with some other co-workers, gave chimpanzees in the Zurich Zoo in Switzerland hammers and nuts, similar to those available in the wild. We then monitored the repertoire of behaviors. Repertoire is the repetition of behaviors displayed by the captive chimpanzees. As it turned out, chimpanzees exhibited a greater range of activities than the more limited and focused set of actions we had seen in the wild. So analysis, chimp analysis in zoo. All right, chimp analysis in zoo. Okay, and here analysis in lab. All right, analysis in lab in zoo. Next, we are here. In our view, these findings taken together suggest that the apes do ape, and that this ability forms one strand in cultural transmission. Indeed, it's difficult to imagine how chimpanzees could develop certain geographic variations in activities such as ant dipping and parasite handling without copying established traditions. They must be imitating other members of the troop. These findings taken together suggest that apes do ape, and that this ability forms one strand in cultural transmission. Indeed, it's difficult to imagine how chimpanzees could develop certain geographic variations in activities such as something without copying established traditions. They must be imitating. So they are concluding here that these habits are cultural, not scientific. Cultural, not scientific. We should note, however, that just as is the case with humans, certain cultural traits are no doubt passed on by a combination of imitation and simpler kinds of social learning, such as having one's attention drawn to useful tools. Either way, in this case, a combination of imitation and simpler kinds of social learning. So imitation and social learning, such as having one's attention drawn to useful tools. Either way, learning from elders is crucial to growing up as a competent wild chimpanzee. A competent is a good worker. Okay, a good employee is a competent employee. A resourceful employee. A competent wild chimpanzee. So learn from parents, something like that. Okay.